Hi, Terry. Hop on in. Let's go look at some plants.
Hi everyone, my name is Shelby Rodriguez Edwards and I am a Texas Parks and Wildlife biologist, and I am here today to talk about harvesting native forage for your consumption. So we're working today with the Smith County Master Gardeners to talk about plants that you can find in our ecoregion that are easily identifiable and where you can have permission to harvest these plants. One of our plants that we're going to be talking about today is smooth sumac. So if you look at it, it's pretty identifiable based off of its leaf structure, and then the stem color is this very bright pink, almost magenta color. So this plant actually will start to produce its berry clusters around August to October time. So this will come out in the fall, and you can actually do a lot with sumac. And one of the most common things is creating a dried out seasoning. So you can harvest the berries once they are completely ripened. So they will turn either like a dark red, and you'll see these big clusters that will stand up, and you can harvest them by just shearing off the clusters. You can dry them out and dehydrate the clusters after you've cleaned them very well, and then you can put it on seasonings for a lot of different foods. It's very common in the Mediterranean diet, so you can see this a lot in those kind of recipes, which is really fun. However, it's very important to 100% identify, because there is a poisonous version of the sumac. So how you can make sure that you're not harvesting the poisonous version is, once this plant fully um, fruits out, it either will have the red berry clusters, or if it's poisonous, it will have a white or a green cluster of berries, and they will start to droop over on the plant. Whereas the flame leaf or the smooth sumac, they will stand directly upright. Another great part of this plant is you can actually get a lot of good vitamin C from those berries. And another great recipe you can make is by steeping those berries and turning it into a lemonade or a tea, which is another very common thing to get that vitamin C into your diet naturally. Um, the berries are going to taste very citrusy and can be a little bit tart, so sometimes it's nice to add a little sweetener in there. So the next plant we're going to talk about is blackberries and dewberries, which, if you grew up in the East Texas area, you will know that this is a very common summer plant that we all probably grew up picking with our grandparents in the summer. So this one is very identifiable with its brambles, or its little spines, and then its red stem. So as you can see, you have those really prickly points and a red stem on it. These will usually fruit out early summer. So we're past our fruiting season right now, but this is a very common early summer plant. They really like to create kind of um, a bramble or a bush-like system. So when you're picking these blackberries and dewberries, it's very important that you are looking before you reach, because sometimes little critters, little mammals, birds, snakes, and other insects love to hide in this for cover. So always look before you reach. Um, you also want to make sure that you are only harvesting the fully blackberries or dewberries, and not those lighter colored fruits, because they are not fully ripened yet. So the next plant we're going to talk about is the slender yellow wood sorrel, or yellow wood sorrel. So this plant is really neat. It was actually used by the Native Americans when they were treating mouth sores, like canker sores, or a sore throat. So this was really common to help with that. Really identifiable based off of the heart-shaped leaf that looks very similar to a clover, but you'll see it has a yellow flower. There's a lot of different wood sorrels throughout Texas, but in this area, the most common one is the yellow wood sorrel. So you can actually harvest this for consumption. And it's really neat. You can either chew it up and turn it into a paste to help with those mouth sores or a sore throat. It's high in vitamin C, so it's helpful in that regard. But too much consumption of this can also be harmful. It contains oxalic acid, which, if you have certain health conditions, might either exacerbate it or not be as helpful as you might think with overconsumption. So make sure you're not consuming too much of this plant, but it is very helpful for a lot of medicinal purposes. So when you eat this plant, the wood sorrel, you're gonna taste a very like citrusy, lemony, and kind of a sour undertone. So some people will either chew it up like I had mentioned, or you can actually steep it and turn it into a tea or a syrup for your teas or for your lemonades. That's a very common use for it. Another common use is for garnish. So a lot of people will use it on their salads, and they will use it as a salad garnish. This over here is our black-eyed Susan. I'm sorry, I blanked on that. Black-eyed Susan. This one we do not want to consume. This is not a consumable plant, but it is beautiful, and we love to see it out in our native prairies.